Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. My name is Anna and today we'll be doing books that didn't need a sequel. I feel like I'm gonna upset a lot of people with this one. Let's get going. Honestly, from my time from reading the first book, second book, third book, so on and so forth, I honestly feel that there are some books that didn't really need a sequel. Because it just had no plot, no fillers, wasn't necessary. It went downhill, it kept dragging, it was just a filler book, so on. So, let's see what we have. So again, I have my 2-page ready, so this is, I don't know if this is actually really a sequel, but I think it is. Cursed Child, J.K. Rowling, I'm sorry, but that book was not necessary. Yes, it was meant to be for the stage, but I honestly suppose she had not written this. Now, there are some sayings that where she herself actually hadn't written it, and that's why it's so bad. But again, I don't know who's who, or like who written the book, but we would just say that J.K. Rowling wrote the book for now. Because honestly, I'm a little bit confused as to who actually wrote the book. There's like a whole thing going on in it, but honestly, this book was not necessary. I hated it. It was just so slow. The characters were not characters at all. Like, they were just so bland and boring, and honestly, it didn't really feel like a Harry Potter book, basically. Like, I know it's supposed to be continuing like off their children's, but it didn't have that feel that Harry Potter had. So it was just not it. I wish the sequel wasn't there at all, so I'm just gonna completely forget about the book and only focus on the 7 movies, or 8 books. 7 books, oh my gosh. There's 8 movies because the last book was divided into 2 parts, but 7 books. Oh wow. I am not here today. But I'm gonna forget Cursed Child has never been written. Okay. So the next one is the Caravel sequel, which I completely forgot what was the name of it, but that's okay. I don't really like the trilogy at all. So, fun fact, apparently Caravel was actually supposed to be a standalone, but because it became so popular, the author was actually pushed by the publisher, like, hey, you need to write 2 more books. I'm like, oh, okay. So, it's kind of sad when authors are forced to write trilogy, even though it's meant to be only standalone or duology. So, honestly, I really do see Caravel only as a standalone, because the second one, it didn't really answer anything at all. It was just kind of a mess. So I actually did not read Legendary, which is the final book. So honestly, I really do see Caravel as a standalone. It was fun and it kind of told what needed to be told. And yes, I do wish there were some things that still needs to explain. But honestly, I don't really see this as a trilogy. But now that I know the actual truth, it should have been left as a standalone, which is okay. Like, I love standalones, so as an author myself, I do have a few books that are going to be a standalone, so that's okay. Because there are some people who love standalones, so yeah, it should have not been a trilogy. So, my next one is Cursed So Dark and Lonely. I didn't think a sequel was needed. Honestly, again, in Cursed So Dark and Lonely, it shouldn't have been left as a standalone. And this is kind of similar to what happened with Caravel, but I think from what I have read, I could be wrong, A Cursed So Dark and Lonely only became a trilogy after it hit the best-selling list, and then that became, oh, we should write more books. So, obviously, I think the last 2 books were cash grabs because of that reason, but the first book should have been left as standalone. I didn't think, like, the sequel could have been done so much better. I didn't really like how the characters turned out the way they were, especially since from the first one. I don't think Gray was being loyal in the sequel as much as he was in the first book, which is why I loved him because of that. But honestly, I just really feel like it was more of a filler than anything, so I didn't think it was necessary to have a sequel. Or even a third book for that matter. It was just kind of in the way, so I really wish it was a standalone. My next book is, I can't remember the sequel's name, but City of Brass. I didn't mind having it as a standalone, actually. Like, yeah, I mean, there's fan fiction, so you can do whatever you want. However, I mean, I guess there are some things that need to be explained in the sequel, but I honestly did not really enjoy the sequel that much. It was just more of a filler. Because from what I remember, there was like a whole bunch of talking about the hospitals and politics, and honestly, sometimes I do enjoy politics, but this one didn't really work out that well. So, I honestly feel like maybe City of Us could have been a standalone in some ways, but, and then we would just imagine from our heads what could have happened if the sequel never existed. And so, yeah. And my next is Divergent. I never read the books, I watched the movies. Divergent, easily standalone. After the last two movies, honestly nothing happened. Nothing really happened, so Divergent could have been the standalone. And honestly, the sequence just got in the way. It really did drag a lot, and I honestly felt like nothing had ever happened. Nothing was resolved, and it was a little bit confusing too from what I remember. Like, this happened when I was in high school, so I'm trying to bring back the memories. But yeah, like, honestly, Divergent could easily be a standalone, so like, it was just a fun, entertaining book, and that's all it needed to be. So it was supposed to be like a Hunger Games 2.0, but it didn't really work out that well. Speaking of, I didn't write it in the list because I actually thought it needed a sequel, and that's the Hunger Games. I actually thought it needed a sequel, but some of the people thought it didn't really, but I think it needed to explain some of the things that happened in the Hunger Games. I loved the sequel. I thought it was the best one out of all of it. I loved the movie, so it was actually pretty good. So I thought the sequel was honestly the best one. I have not yet watched the last movie of the Hunger Games, so I can't vouch for that one, but the sequel, it was amazing. So, to each their own, I guess. But anyways, my next one is The Ghost of Paper the Fire sequel. Again, it should have been actually a standalone, and just because it makes more sense that way. Like, honestly, the sequel was really boring, nothing happened, and there was a stupid love triangle that wasn't necessary in that sequel, and honestly that kind of ruined everything for me for that second book. Like, all the things that I really I wanted in the first book, honestly it felt complete to me. So I don't know why I'll just keep pushing for trilogies. I mean, yes, it will sell well because it's a trilogy, but sometimes a book just doesn't need it. So yeah. Again, I'm not gonna speak on too much about these two because I never read it, but from the reviews, these are Serpent and Dove and Blood and Ash. So again, I don't think people are too happy about it, like with the sequels, because Blood and Ash, oh my god, like, I never seen a series dragging on so much. Foreshadow, I actually had. It's the Akatar series that keep dragging on. I'm like, just stop. At this point, just stop. Like, people can automatically can tell it's a cash grab, so just stop. But yeah, for Serpent and Dove sequel and Blood and Ash, everyone's saying it's a hot mess, and like, honestly, the author should have focused more on the storyline, and it felt like it was also more for fillers, and they weren't too happy about it. So the characters seemed boring, and the plot wasn't really there to begin with, and that's all I can say about Blood and Ash and Serpent and Dove. But I never read the books, I personally don't know, but I thought I would include it in here because, man, I've never seen a book like that bad. So I think the final one is Akatar series, A Court of Thorns and Roses. I think that takes the #1 spot for the most dragged out series. Holy crap. They did not need that much series because I read the first book And that's enough for me, because I know what's gonna be for the others to continue with. Like I have not read a sequel and I don't want to, so cause I don't want to do anything with that author as well. Right, so yeah, from what I can see from the reviews, everyone's saying how all the characters had changed from the first book and just nothing was happening and didn't really work out well for them. So yeah, I'm staying away from those authors. No, thank you. Also, I don't know if this is still part of a series of the original world, the Inheritance games, but I've seen a trilogy of the new books from the Inheritance games, and again, it's the same thing. Like it was just not necessary. It really, it's not. Like I stopped reading. Like I didn't even want to read those books, so I don't know why authors keep doing this. Like sometimes you just don't need continuations, and that's okay. So, I don't know. Each to their own, I guess. But, yeah, those are all the books that were sequels once needed. So, let me know what books you think were not needed. And please like, comment, subscribe, so you'll be notified every time I post. And I will see you on my next one. Bye!